Spoilers ahead. Watch out, and take care. The movie begins with Shin Sito, chasing a petty thief. Once he catches him, Sito kills the thief in cold blood. For this crime, he is sentenced to 5 years in prison. However, before he is locked away, the prison guards torture him severely. The prison he's sent to is one of the most dangerous in South Korea, housing the country's most violent and heinous criminals. The prison's director runs illegal underground wrestling matches, involving the inmates, making money by streaming the fights on illicit websites. Upon arrival, Sito notices that prisoners are assigned different uniforms, based on their status. Murderers and gangsters wear orange, while regular prisoners wear blue. On his first day, Sito carefully observes the other inmates, noting their weaknesses. He soon learns that only those in orange uniforms are allowed to participate in the illegal wrestling matches, so he devises a plan to join. To get an orange uniform, he kills an inmate wearing one, successfully earning the right to fight in the wrestling ring. Now in the orange uniform, he is introduced to the brutal world of underground wrestling. The guards allow him to compete, and the prison director profits handsomely from these violent matches. Sito is housed with other orange uniformed inmates, including Lee and Gui, the most feared and powerful prisoner. Lee was a notorious criminal even before being incarcerated, and Sito is well aware of his reputation. Lee has become the director's favorite, winning numerous tournaments, and making millions for the prison's corrupt staff. Confident in his strength, Lee is told by the director that a new prisoner will be joining the tournament, Sito. However, Lee is certain that no one can defeat him. Back in his cell, where the guards cater to his every whim, Lee hears his name being shouted. It's Sito, who stares at him with seething anger, filled with hatred. Lee dismisses him, mocking him as mentally unstable, but Sito's burning desire for revenge is clear. 5 years earlier, Sito's life was completely different. He was walking through a park with his wife, enjoying a peaceful day. At one point, he left her side, to buy some food and drinks. While waiting, he received a text message from his wife. She was pregnant, and he was going to be a father. Overwhelmed with joy, Sito rushed back to her, but on the way, he ran into Lee, who gave him an unsettling look. Sensing something was wrong, Sito hurried to his wife, only to find her lifeless body on the ground. The world seemed to shatter beneath him. The killer was none other than Lee. Fueled by grief and anger, Sito vowed revenge, and 5 years later, he landed in prison with Lee. As the prison's illegal wrestling tournament nears, the head guard announces the lineup, which includes violent criminals, gangsters, human traffickers, and drunks. Sito is matched up against an experienced veteran fighter, his first bout. As the match begins, a brutal fight ensues, with Sito initially struggling to hold his ground. Meanwhile, the prison director and his cronies watch from luxurious rooms, using virtual reality headsets, to immerse themselves in the violence. Though Sito falters at first, he quickly regains his strength, and fights back with renewed energy. Just as he is about to win, Lee enters the scene, taunting and provoking him. Instead of breaking his focus, the sight of Lee fuels his rage, igniting a fire within him. With a surge of strength, he unleashes a devastating attack, defeating his opponent. The director, thrilled by the bloodshed, is delighted with Sito's victory. He immediately orders the head guard to start the next match, eager for more violence. This time, it's between a human trafficker named Lin, and a mafia gangster. Lin is known for using brute force without any strategy, which initially puts him at a disadvantage. However, as the gangster grows tired, Lin seizes the moment, and strikes him down, securing his victory in the tournament. Meanwhile, Sito lays in pain in his cell, severely injured from the brutal match. As he drifts in and out of consciousness, he envisions his late wife, her image both soothing and agonizing. Despite his injuries, this fleeting glimpse of her seems to bring him some peace. On the other side of the prison, the director and head guard celebrate his victory, impressed by his strength and tenacity. Realizing he can be a valuable asset in future matches, the director instructs the head guard to ensure he is well taken care of, to keep him in fighting shape. The head guard, following orders, summons a nurse to treat his wounds. After a few days of care, Sito's condition improves, and he is ready for his next fight. He requests a meeting with his upcoming opponent before the match. Initially, the head guard denies the request, but given Sito's newfound status, the director's prized fighter, he eventually grants permission. His next opponent turns out to be Lin, the human trafficker who won his previous match. When they meet, Lin makes a shocking offer. He promises to intentionally lose their fight, allowing Sito to advance to the next round. Lin is convinced Sito has the strength to defeat Lee in the final battle, and ultimately bring an end to his reign of terror. In exchange for throwing the fight, Lin asks for a favor. he wants Sito to deliver a final message to his daughter, once he is released from prison. It is revealed Lin has terminal cancer, and doesn't have much time left. His only wish is for Sito to win the tournament, and ensure his daughter receives his farewell message. At night, as Sito sleeps, he dreams of his wife once again. In the dream, he is filled with joy, embracing her tightly, knowing full well she is gone forever. However, when he suddenly wakes up, he realizes he wrapped his arms around the nurse who had been caring for him. The next day, Sito prepares for his next match. His opponent, Kui, continuously tries to provoke him, attempting to anger him into attacking outside of the ring, which will disqualify Sito from the tournament. Kui's plan seems to be working, as Sito is on the verge of losing control. However, at a critical moment, Lin reminds Sito of their plan, and calms him down. Every time Sito looks at Kui's face, his rage grows, but he manages to keep his emotions in check. Meanwhile, Lee discovers the truth: Sito is the husband of the woman he murdered years ago. He decides to use this knowledge to his advantage, planning to remind Sito of his late wife, in order to weaken him mentally, and cause him to lose the tournament. A few days later, the next phase of the tournament is set to begin. The guards give all the fighters the rare chance to bathe in hot water, and none of the prisoners want to miss out. In the bathhouse, Sito is taunted by Lee, bringing up his wife's murder, and trying to provoke another violent outburst. Though Sito loses his temper briefly, he manages to stop himself before attacking Lee. He knows if he assaults Lee outside the ring, he would be disqualified, and that cannot happen. His revenge depended on winning the tournament. The next day, the matches resume, with Lee facing Aeon. The director knows this will be a brutal clash, and in the end, Lee wins as expected. The director, thrilled by the violence, decides to schedule Lee and Sito's match as soon as possible, to draw in the largest audience, and increase the number of bets. Despite his favor toward Lee, the director secretly places a bet on Sito, confident that he will win. Meanwhile, the tournament continues with another fierce match, between a young gang leader and a psychopathic murderer. From the start, the gang leader dominates the fight, eager to inflict pain. However, his opponent, the psychopath, is not an ordinary fighter. He laughs maniacally every time he is hit. Eventually, the psychopath uses this distraction to his advantage, defeating the gang leader with a powerful strike. After the match, the guards prepare Lee and the director's car, as they are heading to a restaurant. Although Lee is a prisoner, he is always given special privileges, due to the immense profits he brought in through the matches. During the car ride, Lee confesses to the director about Sito's wife's murder. It is revealed she worked for a company involved in illegal activities, and when she discovered the truth, she intended to expose them. To prevent this, the company's owner hired Lee, a notorious serial killer, to silence her. At the time, Lee didn't know Sito's wife was pregnant, and when he found out later, he regretted the murder deeply. However, by then, it was too late. After the meal, the director, unmoved by Lee's confession, orders the tournament to continue. The semi-final round arrives, pitting Sito against Lin, as planned. The match begins, and just as they had agreed, Lin purposely loses to Sito. However, to make the defeat look convincing, Lin launches a sudden attack on Sito. Caught off guard, Sito instinctively retaliates with full force. Meanwhile, in the other semi-final match, Lee faces the psychopathic killer. The director orchestrated this setup, so Sito and Lee will inevitably meet in the final. As the tournament nears its conclusion, the director and the head guard raise the stakes, confident that many will bet against Sito. Before the final match, both Sito and Lee are treated to massages, to help them relax. The guards then explain the brutal rules of the final round. Their legs will be chained, and each will be armed with a knife. Victory will come only by cutting their opponent's leg, rendering them immobile. As a final gesture before the deadly match, they are served a lavish meal. While Lee quickly begins devouring the food, Sito remains restless, knowing this will be the most critical fight of his life. True to form, Lee taunts him, mentioning his wife, and finally, Sito snaps. Enraged, he launches a surprise attack on Lee, before the match officially begins. A guard immediately informs the director, but instead of stopping the fight, the director decides to broadcast it live, knowing it will drive up viewership and bets. For Sito, this fight is personal. Fueled by rage and revenge, he fights with relentless ferocity, attacking Lee without mercy. The two men clash violently, but in the end, Sito overpowers his opponent, using the knife to sever Lee's leg, leaving him paralyzed. According to the tournament's brutal rules, Sito emerges as the victor. Despite their reluctance, the head guard and the director are forced to hand Sito the keys to the prison, as his prize. The men suffer significant financial losses due to the outcome, but they have no choice but to acknowledge Sito's victory. Flash back to the beginning, revealing the truth about the thief Sito killed. The thief had actually given Sito the address of Lee. Armed with this information, Sito intentionally murdered the thief, so he could be sent to the same prison as Lee, to exact his revenge. In a final twist, it is revealed the head guard of the prison was Sito's elder brother. Together, they had orchestrated the entire plan to bring Lee to justice. Over the years, the head guard had secretly gathered all the evidence of the director's illegal activities, waiting for the right moment to expose them. Finally, Sito's revenge is complete. The director, along with his corrupt guards, are arrested, and justice is served. The end. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. Turn on the notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out.